Hey, welcome everybody. It is GleeCon here again with our final chapter in the War of the Ancients trilogy. We did it. Chapter 23 in the Sundering, the third book in said trilogy. Our people have just donned, or not donned, but they jumped on the back of Noah's Dormoon, and they've flown back through time for what we knew all along was going to happen. A nice little summary baby chapter at the end about them getting back to the present. So let's do it together, guys. 23. Ronan awoke to find himself lying in a field of grass. At first, he feared that something had gone awry, but then as he sat up, a familiar and very welcome sight greeted his eyes. A house. His house. He was home. More important, he sighted Jalia, the townswoman who had been taking care of Verisa during her pregnancy. She seemed in a fair state, anxious but cheerful. Ronan unsuccessfully tried to calculate the time passing since he had vanished. He wondered how old the babies would be by now. Then, to his horror, he heard Verisa cry out, "Jalia, come!" Without hesitation, he leapt to his feet and followed after the woman. For a full-bodied person, Jalia moved quickly. Full-bodied. She raced through the doorway, even as Verisa called out again. The wizard burst through the door a few moments later, hand already up in preparation to defend his bride and children. He looked around, expecting a home ransacked or burnt, but found everything in place. Come on, she's in labor, dude. Verisa! Verisa! Ronan, praise the sun well. Ronan, in here. He ran toward the bedroom, fearful of what he would find. A moan set the hair on his neck standing. Verisa! Ronan barged inside. The twins, are they? They're coming! That's what birth sounds like to me. He stared wide-eyed. His wife lay in the bed, still very much pregnant, but not for long. How? He began, but Jalia shoved him aside. If you don't know how, then you'd best just stand back and let her and me handle it, Master Ronan. The wizard knew better than to argue. He fell back against the wall, ready to be of any help should the need arrive, but saw quickly that Verisa and Jalia had things well in hand. The first one's coming, Verisa announced. As he watched and waited, Ronan thought of all the astounding events he had recently been a part of. He had passed through time, survived the first coming of the Burning Legion, and had aided in the effort to save the world and the future. But none of that, he discovered, was as miraculous as what he was a part of now. And for that, he gave thanks that he and the others had succeeded. And in that time so long ago, Jared Shadowsong presided over a gathering far more dour than the one on the island. Those who now represented the leaders of the host, and their allies too, stood ready to hear judgment. Soldiers prodded along the one on trial. His mouth was wrapped shut with a cloth, but bonds of metal now kept his arms behind him and his hands from gesturing. Invisible spells cast by Malfurion and others ensured that there would be no repeat of the terrible incident at the lake. When he stood in the center of the circle that his accusers had formed, Illidan, monstrous eyes scarved, stared arrogantly at the figure before him. One of the soldiers cautiously removed the gag. Illidan Stormrage, began Jared, sounding nothing like the simple guard captain he had once been. Many other times you fought valiantly alongside others against the evil encroaching on our world. But sadly, too many other times you've proven yourself a danger to your own people. A danger I'm the only one who sees honestly. I was planning for our future. I was saving our race. I attacked those who disagreed with you, slaying many, and recreated what should have been best forgotten. Illidan spat. You'll all be praying to me as if I were a god when the demons return. I know how they think, how they act. Next time they won't be cast out. You'll need to fight them as they fight. Only I have that knowledge. Such knowledge we're better without. Jared looked around as if seeking someone. When he apparently did not find that person, the leader of the Night Elves sighed and continued. Illidan Stormrage, as it falls to me, I can think of only one thing to do with you. It pains me, but I hereby declare that you shall be put to death. How original, sneered the sorcerer. Put to death in a manner... Jared, forgive me for being late, interrupted a figure behind Illidan. May I still speak? The armored night elf nodded almost gratefully. This is yours to decide as much as it's mine. Malfurion walked around his brother. Illidan's face followed him as the druid stepped between the sorcerer and the soldier. I'm sorry, Illidan. Ha! What is it you want to say, Master Malfurion? Urged Jared. There is some truth in what my brother says about the Burning Legion, Jared. They may come again. And you want us to therefore forget his crimes and his danger? The druid shook his antlered head. No. He glanced at his twin, the other half of him, then briefly at Tyrande, who stood at the edge of the circle with Maiev and Chandris. She had stayed with him all the while he had suffered through what should be done. The High Priestess supported his decision, not that it eased his ache. No, Jared, Malfurion repeated, steeling himself. No, I want you to imprison him, even if it means he stays so for 10,000 years, if necessary. As the rest of those assembled suddenly broke out into startled muttering, Malfurion closed his eyes and tried to calm himself. He had his suspicions concerning the future, knowing as he did now about Krasis and Ronan. The druid prayed he had made the right decision, but only the future would tell. And lastly, why did he have to add that like he's talking to us? You're not going to break the fourth wall until the last page? Thrall had not heard from the two he had sent to the mountains to investigate the shaman's vision. They might still be searching, but the orc leader had the suspicion that the truth was far worse. No good ruler, not even of his race, liked to send loyal warriors to their death without something coming from it. Night had long fallen, and most of his subjects were deep asleep. Only he and the guards outside still stirred. Thrall should have been sleeping, but his concern over this unsettling quest had grown with each day since Brox's and Gaskal's departure. The torchlights flickered, creating shadows that moved as if alive. Thrall paid them no mind until he suddenly noticed that one by the door was solid. The orc immediately leapt up from his stone throne. Who dares? But instead of an assassin, and there were always plenty of those, a wizened orc wearing wolfskins and bearing a totem with the carved head of a dragon on it shuffled forward. Hail, Thrall, the elder figure called in an oddly strong voice. Hail, savior of the orcs. Who are you? You are not Kalthar, Thrall growled, referring to his shaman. I am the one who brings news. News of a valiant warrior. Broxagar. Brox, what of him? Speak. The warrior is dead, but dead sending many enemies before him. He has again fought the Legion, and cut down so many it would take a day just to count them one by one. The Legion! The orc's worst fears were realized. Where? Tell me so that I can gather our warriors and fight them. The almost hairless elder shook his head, then gave Thrall a grin without teeth. There are no more demons. Broxagar and those fighting beside him defeated the Legion, and it was your warrior who stood at the pass again. Even when faced by their master, the figure bowed his head respectfully. Sing songs of him, great Thrall, for he was part of those who saved the world for you. For a time the younger orc still stood silent, then, This is true? All of it? Aye, and I bring this, all that remains to honor a hero. I think this is Krasis, that's why I'm using that voice. Despite his seeming infirmity, the shaman brought forth a huge twin-edged axe. Thrall blinked, somehow not having noticed it earlier. I've seen nothing like it. It is a weapon crafted by the first druid, formed from the magic of a forest spirit, fashioned especially for Brox's hand. It will have a place of honor, Thrall whispered, gently taking it from the crooked figure. He eyed it in admiration, light as a feather, and from the look of it wood from bottom to head, even the blades, but clearly a capable axe. How is it that you have this? But the shaman did not answer, because he was no longer there. With a grunt, Thrall rushed through the entranceway. He instinctively gripped the axe, suddenly wary that this had all been some intricate plot to do away with him. He confronted the 2 guards stationed outside what passed for his throne room. "Where is he? Where is the Old One?" "There's been no one," the senior guard quickly answered. With a frustrated growl, Thrall pushed past them. He hurried out into the open. The full moon well illuminated the surroundings, but still the ruler of the orcs saw nothing. Not, that is, until he happened to look up at the moon. And in it, just passing into the night, he saw a huge winged form. A red dragon. Krasis/Corielstraws veered in the direction of his flight's lair. Ronan was with his Varisa, and through the dragon the legacy of brave Brox had been brought to the orcs. Now it was his turn to at last go home and see tomorrow what the future would bring. Bum, bum, bum. We had the same about the author as always, and that's it. Woo! Celebration, guys. Not too shabby of a trilogy. You know, of course, I love the lore. I love the content. The characters. So that brings it. That kept me going through it. I like the added depth. I like what we've learned about the really up close view of Tyrande and Malfurion getting together. Cenarius shaping Malfurion. How the Sundering occurred. The beginning of Illidan's transformation. And Tyrande's rise to power. The first-hand look at Maiev and Jared's Shadow Song. All of those things are really cool. You know, and I could never, any criticism I give for Mr. Knack here, I'm not a writer. I do enjoy writing. I enjoy reading, but I'm not a published writer or anything like that. I don't even attempt to be that. So my hat's off to anyone that goes through it. As far as the grand scheme of published works go, I would probably give this book about a C. Somewhere in the middle at different parts. And some of that's mediocre editing as well. I'd say the editing is probably on par with that as well. Probably about a C. So, all that aside, I did enjoy reading it. It was, and I enjoyed reading it with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. I still plan on reading all the others and continuing our journey. So starting with the next episodes, you'll start getting them a little bit more fast because we've got a bunch of Chronicles to go, maybe 20 or so in Chronicles 1, and then we've really probably got about 2/3 of the Book of Chronicles 2. So altogether, maybe another 60 or so episodes. So I might be able to bust that out in about a week because they're much shorter. That's my goal within the next week or so, to have that busted out. And then we'll be on Rise of the Horde. And I hope to finish that within about a week also. And then we're going to be, we'll catch up in that time. I'll keep you updated as I read Chronicles, as I go through the timeline. If you want to look at the timeline that I'm following, I use the official one on the Warcraft Wikipedia. It has a lot of references throughout, so I just tag into each of those references because it's whoever has assembled it, and obviously the same people probably that have highlighted these things in the Kindle. They've done a fantastic job of putting everything in chronological order. So I am by no means claiming to do anything like that. I straight up am following the map that they've laid out, and people that have probably done this as a labor of love beforehand. I'm just presenting it to you guys in a first-hand form. There are audiobooks on tape for probably all of these, and there are other people probably more entertaining than myself that do Let's Plays. This is just one guy's journey through all of it in order, and I don't know that anyone's done that anyone has on camera consumed it all in chronological order, every piece of media content that's been put out there. So if that's what you're into, and you've ridden with me this far, I appreciate it. This episode, this series, is in the pipes 5x5, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thank you.